Welcome back to Off the Cuff, episode 30. This is our part 2, because we had so many wonderful questions from you guys. So if you missed part 1, you can go back and watch that. But we're going to address some different questions on this part. Today we're going to be talking about Mox, Ninjago, Back to the Future, and Lord of the Rings.
Score. All right, cool. Let's go. Let's do this.
All right, to start off, we have some fun thought questions from Aslam. Says, okay, got some questions for you. The first one is, are there any licensed themes you would like to see come to LEGO? Specifically something they haven't done before.
Ooh, that's really good. So I'm actually one of those that I appreciate licensed themes. I wouldn't say that they've gotten out of control. I think that a lot of people will take a look at all the different licensed themes that LEGO's done over the years and kind of put them together, even though LEGO kind of rotates some in and out, like Lord of the Rings, for instance. I know we'll talk about that later on, but that was a theme, and then it wasn't, and then it's back. But I don't know. I like a lot of the IP stuff. I love some of the icon sets, like the modular buildings. Ninjago is really good. I mean, Friends is... even though it's not my cup of tea, like the sets are very well designed. City sets have gone, I think, up in quality. So I'm one of those that tends to prefer the original IP. I like that LEGO does it. I think they tend to be more affordable sets. But, I think one of the ones that I would kind of enjoy personally, and I don't think it'll ever get made, but there is a movie coming out this year, and that would be Chronicles of Narnia. I think it'd be fun to have those sets. And so I kind of hope that they would do that. They've never done that before. Like I said, I think there is a movie coming out later this year, so hey, maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I mean, our kids would love that too. So thinking about like the whole family experience, that would be pretty fun. And you can do a lot of different things. You can do like castles, you can do battles, you can do ships, you can do all sorts of different types of sets that might appeal to people. But that's more classic literature. I'm not big up to date on all the different like Netflix shows and all, because I know LEGO has that relationship with Netflix with the Wednesday sets, the One Piece sets, Stranger Things. So I don't know if there are a lot of other series out there that they could do with Netflix, but yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking, does LEGO ever do themes based on books, or is it always more like movies and shows?
I would imagine movies and shows. I'm trying to think if there's ever been one that's just purely been books. I think it's something visual that people have reference to that they could make a replica of, because I think it's easier for LEGO to tap into that market. Like if you've seen the Millennium Falcon and LEGO makes a Millennium Falcon, then you know exactly what it looks like, what it should look like, and if they do it well, people will like it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like what kind of a world or something would be fun to see in LEGO, and I started thinking of like my kids' favorite book series and like how cool that would be. They're into several different ones that tend to be fantasy type books, so they have like really cool, interesting builds if they made it in LEGO, but I'm not sure if that's widespread enough for LEGO to jump on, but it would be cool.
Maybe, yeah.
All right, his second question is, are there any non-licensed themes you would like to see LEGO try out or dust off other than Castle? Because we all know you love Castle.
I mean, I would love a proper Pirates theme as well. That was my second favorite theme growing up. But I think one, because we do get some of that stuff sprinkled in here or there, obviously Pirates of the Caribbean. Wild West. Like, I gotta be honest with you, Wild West, I love those sets growing up. Those were actually right after I entered my Dark Age as a LEGO fan, right? So Dark Ages, for those of you who don't know, is like you were a LEGO fan as a kid, and then you hit a certain age, and it's kind of like LEGO. It's not important to you anymore, and other things become important. Video games, college, dating, whatever it might be, right? So, after I entered that period, my younger brother actually got some of those Wild West sets, and those were really cool. I know you guys had them. That's a theme that we've seen dabbled with in the BrickLink Designer program, but not on a wide scale, and I would love to see some Wild West sets come back.
Yeah. Aslam's final question is, what IP would you like to see be made into a one-off LEGO Ideas or Icon set, and how would you envision that set? I'm talking something like the Goonies or Stranger Things, IPs that turn into one or a handful of sets and not a full theme.
That's a tough question. I mean, I think it's tough because LEGO's done a lot of this already. I mean, I was looking at brickset.com the other day. They actually had a article that talked about the different IP that people wanted from like 5 years ago. And Lego's done almost all of them. Like they brought back Pirates of the Caribbean, they brought back Lord of the Rings, they did One Piece, they did all these things that people brought up in there. And so there's not as much left. And there are a lot of like shows, anime shows or things like that. I'm gonna go. I think there are some rumors about this maybe happening, but I'm gonna say this more for my kids' sake. I think you might know where I'm going for this.
Yeah.
It is a Netflix movie. It is the most watched Netflix movie of all time. But K-pop Demon Hunters. I think it'd be fun to see what they do with that. Would I personally love this set? Maybe not. My kids, though, I think would be fascinated by them. And we'll see what would be like. But I think that would be one. And I know that's kind of odd for me to say that, but I think Lego's done a really good job of bringing them back, at least one-offs here or there.
Okay. All right, talking about mocks. Tyler Winfield asks, do you ever use BrickLink Studio to design your city builds or custom mocks before ordering parts?
Yes and no. Yes for some mocks and no for others. I think there are some things that we like to do kind of in the moment and kind of like problem solve on our own. And those are kind of fun to do. So for instance, Autumn and I did a little, let's customize the castle minifigs that came in the vending machine. Let's build some stuff for them, some little boats and a little keep and things like that. Those were things that we didn't build on Studio or any digital designer program beforehand. However, there are things that we've done. So we did the 3X of the Botanical Gardens, Friends Botanical Garden from a few years ago. We did that in Studio first, and we also did a custom guarded inn, like a large guarded inn that was kind of modeled after the 1986 guarded inn, and that one we did build in Studio first before ordering parts. So for a larger mock like that, yes. The problem that I ran into with using Studio is not that Studio is hard to work with, it's that it is very, very time consuming. And so I think for some of the larger projects, it can make sense to do that. I'll give you an example of a time that I started doing that and then stopped doing the Studio process, which is when I did a 2X version of the Medieval Town Square. Like I had loaded in the inventories into Studio. I was working on, enlarging the buildings. And then at some point I'm like, gosh, like that's a lot there. Like I got one building done and it took me so long. So I ended up like using that as the first building and then just kind of going from there on the other one. So I think it depends on the project that you're working with, the amount of time that you have, and how precise you want things to be. Everyone has a different building style, and I think that contributes into it as well. But I do think it's a good skill for Lego mock designers to have, to be able to move around in that space, whether it's Studio or something else, just because if you ever want to do ideas or the BrickLink Designer program, you need to know those programs because you need to submit instructions in a digital platform for Lego. So it's worth getting into.
Speaking of BrickLink Designer,
yeah.
Seven Deadly Bricks wants to know, you review a lot of BrickLink Designer sets. Would you consider submitting your own mock to the program?
I wasn't going to until I watched an interview with, his name's Alex. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he's actually the guy that's in charge of the BrickLink Designer program. And he did an interview with, I think it's Brad's Archives. And I was watching this interview because they said a lot about Castle, and so I wanted to know where BrickLink Designer program was as it relates to Castle. And we're going to do a whole video on Castle in 2026, so be on the lookout for that in February, or maybe even the end of January. We'll see how things go. But yeah, so one of the things that Alex mentioned was that they really need a lot of submissions that are under like 1,500 pieces. Because how it works, and I didn't know this until I watched the interview, that the average part count for the BrickLink Designer program series, so there's 5 sets, they average 2,500 parts. That's the production capacity that they have through Lego. That is the optimal average set size. So for every small set you have, you can have a bigger set. And so if you have more like small to medium range sets, like 1,000 to 2,000 pieces, you could actually get a couple of the larger ones because it all balances out. And what he said was, we need to have high quality, like 1,500 piece options and below, because that's what we're missing. Like when those sets do really well, like the hot air balloon that's going to be coming out in one of the future series, people love it and they vote for it. And so those high quality, smaller to medium sized sets really do a good job of giving them options for the BrickLink Designer program. And actually, statistically, you're more likely to get one of those sets through the program than a 4,000 piece behemoth of a creation, because there's so much competition on that end. So once I heard that, I was like, maybe one of these days I will do something. Of course, my problem is, you know me, I love Castle. And Castle is the #1 submitted theme on the BrickLink Designer program, and you're not going to get multiple Castle sets through very often. It did happen with Series 4 with the Siege Encampment and the Seaside Market, but that's not going to happen too often. So anyway, I might think about it a bit more, but I watched the interview yesterday, so it's still early in my mind.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Ninjago Burbalus Realm wants to know, what is currently the best Ninjago set to buy? Is the Temple Bounty worth adding to my collection, or would it be better to wait for the 2026 releases?
Well, I mean, I got to be honest with you, man. Like, the Temple Bounty is a fantastic set. I loved building it. I thought it was very... It's an expensive set, but it's very good value. With the minifigs, the quality of minifigs you get, the quality of the build is amazing. I mean, it's sitting right here above my head, and I have zero regrets. Like, it's one of those sets where I know that when I buy it and review it, not a ton of people watch it, I don't care. Like, I think it's such a well-designed set. And it's the same thing with the Old Town, which I just completed building yesterday, and I really love that set. Like, it's very, I mean, it's going to be a very positive review of that set. However, I actually think there are a couple really good options available right now that came out in January that are a bit more affordable than either the Temple Bounty or the Old Town. One of them is the four weapons blacksmith, which is made out of like this weapon, the blacksmith that you see in the very first episode of Ninjago, which I've not seen. I've never watched any of the shows, but that's the point of that set, and it looks to be an incredible build, hugely popular among some of the Ninjago fans, picking that up day one. And then there's also this 15th anniversary like little display, temple display. It's like $40. You get a ton of minifigs. Like, those are two really affordable, highly executed sets that I would say go out and get. Find the double points, because you might be able to find them on sale, but they're affordable enough that double points, I think, would make it worth it, especially if there's a good gift with purchase that you like. So those are two recommendations on the lower end that I have on my wanted list that I may pick up if they go on sale.
All right, finally getting to this little guy here from Back to the Future. Gzilla asks, don't get me wrong, I love this set and pre-ordered it, but this is the 4th time they've done the DeLorean. But when are they going to do the Time Machine train from Back to the Future 3?
I mean, we can all hope. I think that's one that would be a very fascinating set for two reasons. Number one, I think it's great subject matter. It's a steampunk kind of set. But it's also one that I think a lot of fans in the train world would like. So you would actually be able to dabble in multiple constituencies, which could help the appeal of that set.
True.
The problem you're going to have is, when does LEGO have that opening for a train set? I don't know what their schedule is. I'm not a big train guy. So as somebody who's not into trains, I would be interested in getting that set because it's Back to the Future. And I can see that there's some people that might not be in the Back to the Future, but like trains, and we'll get that. So I think that helps the argument. But LEGO's going to have to find that right window of time when there's not a lot of Back to the Future out. And, not that there ever is, but like there's like zero options for Back to the Future. And the train window lines up. And so I think that'd be interesting. But I would love for them to do that. I don't think we've ever received a Claire minifig in LEGO form. Remember, we've got Doc, we've had Marty, but I think it'd be great to get a Claire as well. So I would be all in favor of that. But does LEGO agree? We don't always see things the same way in terms of what they should be making, but that's okay.
Building off of that,
okay.
Josh L. Slater says, which train? The locomotive they hijack, or the one that Doc Brown made a time machine with? I'd be happy if he got either, but I'd like the number 131 locomotive most, since I failed to make a model of one years ago. Yeah,
and that's where you start getting into the back and forth with the actual train fans versus Back to the Future fans, like the steampunk. There's a lot. By the way, there's a lot of people into steampunk as well, and LEGO doesn't do a lot of that. So, and you notice that some of the non-LEGO building block brands will do a lot of steampunk because I think that's a market that's open. So LEGO, I think, could do one or the other. I'm not sure they would do one where you could do both, but they would have to choose. My guess is they're going to do the one that Well, I don't know,
The
actually.
old one.
I don't know, because, the Lone Ranger came out years ago. They did a Wild West train that was that. So they do, like, the hijack kind of video, subject matter, right, where the train, and there's, a robbery going on, and you got to save them, or something like in this case. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what they would do. I don't know. There's a lot more time spent on the train itself from 1885 than the Time Machine one.
Yeah. But the Time Machine one does look pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, totally.
All right, moving on to our favorite topic, Lord of the Rings. All right, the Fat Biker says, the true speculation is, what would the GWP be with Minas Tirith?
How interesting does LEGO want to make it? I would love, and a lot of fans would hate, if they did, like, Éowyn versus the Witch King. That would fit in with Minas Tirith. It's part of the battle, Pelennor Field. It's happening in conjunction with, what you might see with other things, with Denethor and Faramir in Minas Tirith, which are two of the rumored minifigs that we get. But having an Éowyn as an exclusive minifig locked behind a $650, that's the rumor price, $650 set would drive fans absolutely nuts, and I totally understand why. So I would hope that realistically the gift with purchase would be something a little less exclusive, not something that would complete Minas Tirith. So for instance, like the funeral pyre scene, like maybe that's not included in Minas Tirith, but they include that as the gift with purchase. I wouldn't want that either, because I think that's going to make fans feel like they have to get it at that point in time. And, it's hard to save $650. Like, that's a lot of money. And so if LEGO, let's say it's released in June, and they announce it in the end of April or in May, in a month, to expect fans to save in time for getting that gift purchase. So I hope something a little bit less.
So just something non-exclusive.
Yeah, well, non-exclusive in the sense like there's not an exclusive minifig, to be sure. And something that's not going to require, like, that gift purchase wouldn't complete the display.
All right. Yes, you were clearly right in with our audience, because
really?
Summer Nestor said, while I'm excited for this set and plan to buy it, I very much want an Éowyn minifigure.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Do you think LEGO will be cruel and lock her behind a gift with purchase, or give us a Book Nook style set or diorama of her scene with the Witch King eventually?
I mean, I would love that. We definitely have this. I would love the Book Nook concept, not the lock behind an exclusive, 650 set idea. Because the Balrog Book Nook, I think, does depict kind of that good versus evil scene, and Éowyn versus the Witch King would be great. The problem is, I don't think they executed the Balrog Book Nook very well, and I don't know how well it sold. It's something that I think last year's Lord of the Rings sets, I said this when I reviewed the Balrog Book Nook, that they weren't very strong, and LEGO, I think if they're going to do, which it sounds like they are doing the Minas Tirith set, they're going to have to up their game in terms of the execution. I think not that they got lazy, but I think like there were just a lot of oddities to that set, and the Shire, of course, had its own issues. So I don't know how many sets we're going to be getting. We know that any moment they're going to announce a Sauron bust, or it's more like helmet, because the bust doesn't include the shoulders, anything like that. But, like, that's one. So we're getting that we know of 2 sets: Sauron helmet and Minas Tirith. Beyond that, I don't know. The other most likely scenario that we would get would be Brickheads. Looking at our Brickheads collection up there, which is not very much. We have the Lord of the Rings Brickheads predominantly. And yeah, we're missing some of the members of the Fellowship. So I would hope that we get those maybe as a set. And the second possibility could be a Book Nook, but I'm skeptical that we're going to see a lot more of those. Although I think the Sherlock Holmes Book Nook was fantastic.
I also want to give you the Fat Biker's comments on this as well. Fat Biker says, my best guess in the line of it being related but not necessarily belonging with the set location, i.e. the Shire had Anduin River with Smeagol Deagle.
Right.
Hobbit related but not located in the Shire. And Barad-dûr had the Ring Wraith and Osgiliath. And one I think would be very good is Boromir in his Gondor armor, standing atop the ruined Osgiliath rise, planting the Gondorian flag.
That's a flashback that would match what they did with the Shire. I think that's a great idea. But again, you would have a lot of fans if it's a unique Boromir that we don't have available in Rivendell. Then, yeah, I think fans would not like that. But I think that'd be an option. Or just in general, Osgiliath. Like a little scene of a ruined section of Osgiliath with a couple of Gondor soldiers, because we are getting some Gondorian soldiers in Minas Tirith, according to rumors. The drawback, right? And then we saw this with the Star Trek set, is they give us Ensign Ro as part of the Type 15 shuttle pod, gift with purchase, but you can only get Star Trek minifigs through the massively expensive set, Enterprise D. We don't have Gondor soldiers available in any other set at this point, and so if you made it available in Minas Tirith, you would end up with only Gondor soldiers available in that set, $650 or the related gift with purchase. And I can see LEGO doing that, but I understand why it would upset some fans.
Why doesn't LEGO have sets that are just like soldier packs?
They do that for Star Wars. They kind of did it back with Lord of the Rings when they released the Helm's Deep and the Uruk-hai battle, which was a little extension you could add to your Helm's Deep, and it came with a bunch of minifigs, and it was great because you could build up your Rohan figures with their armor and the spears, and then you've got some Uruk-hai in there. But I don't think LEGO does that very often because they don't have a lot of themes right now that would lend itself to army building. Like, you could do that with castle if you had a castle theme, or pirates if you had a pirate theme, and you wanted all, a bunch of generic pirates or generic soldiers. Same with Lord of the Rings. You could do that, but they only do one-offs. So if that's the way that they've planned out their Lord of the Rings releases, using one of the few slots you have for an army builder, I don't know if that would work. I think a lot of fans would love that if you had a $40, battle pack that had a little bit of a structure to it, whether it was like a Blackgate and you had orcs, or something like the Helm's Deep. But maybe they're waiting. I don't know, or they're just not interested in doing that, which is probably the case. I think it's a miss. I think that LEGO should be doing that. I think it would be great. I think a lot of fans would like that. I think fans would buy multiple copies to army build. I don't think we would, but there are a lot of fans out there who love that kind of thing. And if you do it the right way and you do it with quality minifigs, people will buy. But yeah, it's something we haven't seen in Lord of the Rings really since that Helm's Deep and Uruk-hai battle set.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching this part 2. Again, if you missed the first one, you can always go back and watch it. Please put your comments below with your questions for us for next month.
Keep them coming.
Yep. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, ring the bell for notifications, and always remember to keep building together.